Hello everyone, directly from Hanover in Germany. We're starting our next live stream. I'm so excited as always. Oh, Leigh is here. She's so fast. Hi everyone. I'm so happy to see you here. We're waiting for Leigh. Leigh, unfortunately, I can't invite you to this live stream. Maybe you could try to join as collaborator, or maybe ask for a request to join. We have to try to add Leigh to our live stream. Without Leigh, we can't start. Let me know, how do you feel today? How was your weekend? Here. Okay. Let's see if it's work. Once again. I can see your request and I try to accept it, but as always, Instagram makes us a joke. Okay, third time. Okay. Sometimes some trouble are there in Instagram, so maybe we should reconnect and we should start this live stream again. No, it works. Yay!
Oh,
I
see you this time. Yay!
Yeah, I see you. I can hear you. I'm so excited, Leigh, to see you.
How are you?
Yeah, pretty fine. I'm tired because I I was driving for 6 hours to Germany from Poland, but I'm
Yep,
fine.
excellent. You
I'm
had
so
some real
so
German
excited to
food
see
for
you.
lunch, I hear.
Yeah, and how are you doing in Australia?
I'm I'm good. The weather is changing slightly. So it's going to be a little bit warmer tomorrow and sunny, which is good. I miss summer. Ready for it to come back.
Yay.
But yeah. Good. Had a good day at work. Lots of nice patients, lots of nice colleagues. I wrangled some of them in to do some of our upcoming advocacy work, which was cool.
Yeah, really love to do. And I choose this wall in my hotel room for you because I know how you love green plants, and this room is so wonderful. So I'm really happy to be here, and I'm really excited to speak about such an important topic because today we will be speaking about something. mm, what really complicated is. So maybe Leigh, you can tell us something about it. What mean that that's messy mix of mental health, because this is so complicated for everyone, for our caregivers, our supporters, and also for us as sufferers. It's so
Mm.
important and so complicated.
Yeah, and I think that's why, when we were thinking about what we might talk about today, that was why we came upon this particular topic, because it is really tricky and it can be really difficult. And I guess part of why I would really like to talk about it is because of kind of the dual role that I have as both a person who has OCD and is managing all sorts of like medical or, psychological things, that I also work in medicine. So I have sort of both perspectives, and it was really interesting to me and also scary that it's so challenging when there are complexities to get diagnoses, to get right diagnoses, to get treatments that are evidence-based. So, yeah, that was sort of why we wanted to talk about it. So I think, I was saying to you, and I've said along the way, like, I'm pretty open. I decided when I was diagnosed with OCD quite late that I wanted to make sure, other people didn't need to experience the delays that I'd experienced. And I figured I have a small platform to be able to do that as a clinician, and as an advocate. So yeah, I'm pretty much an open book with all this stuff.
Mhm. Yeah. And for me as a sufferer, it's also so complicated because for the first I've had first OCD symptoms when I was 10, but then I have also problem with eating disorder and with depression, and it's really hard to see the small differences. What is what and what causes what, because I think it's really hard to diagnose someone in Poland, especially, and in other countries. There is hard to find a really good specialist to treat OCD and to give some good treatment for other disorders. And this is complicated because, as we know, OCD is really often not alone as OCD at all. And the problem is that with OCD come the other disorders too, and the other disorders can make OCD treatment harder, or OCD can influence at other disorders, and that's why this time of recovery can be longer for different individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think when I look back at, what I was experiencing as like a really young kid, now I can see, what was happening at different stages that then either, continued as it was or changed into something else as well. So, from a really young age, I had OCD symptoms. The first recollection I have of OCD was when I was 3.
Mm,
It was when something was happening. My brother was having surgery, and he had open heart surgery, so it was quite stressful. And I got to pick him a balloon at the gift shop to take up to him in the hospital, and I couldn't pick the right one. And my parents misinterpreted me not selecting the balloon as like attention-seeking behavior or, being naughty. And I didn't have the language for it at the time. And it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I really understood that I couldn't pick the balloon because OCD was telling me if I pick the wrong one, then my brother might die. And I had this huge responsibility on my shoulders that I didn't understand. So yeah, I struggled a lot in school in terms of like my own mood and friendships and self-confidence and that sort of thing. I always had sort of been diagnosed with depression and anxiety. Uh, and that was something that was a really long-standing diagnosis for me. I was always pretty proactive about wanting to manage things and to improve. But yeah, it got to a point in my life where there were just lots of traumas that had added up, lots of stresses that had added up. Some things at work that were just very, very stressful. It was after an incident that was traumatic that it all just kind of went off. So even just before my OCD diagnosis, we thought that I had, worsening generalized anxiety because all of my compulsions were mental. And it wasn't until I couldn't stop washing my hands at work, even I didn't realize what it was. I went to my psychologist and was telling her like how annoyed I was that I couldn't stop washing my hands and I didn't understand why. And that it wasn't until then that it clicked for her. And then it finally clicked over time.
Yeah, it takes absolutely a really long time, and especially for people, for teenagers, for kids who are aware of symptoms, are even harder because we live in those times where social media, schools, our friends, our and society have a really huge impact for our life and for our mental health. And when we're struggling with OCD or eating disorder or general anxiety, those symptoms can overlap, and as teenager or people who are not aware about those symptoms, it's even harder to see what is happening in our head.
Yeah.
And even harder is for specialists to recognize what is happening in patients' heads. So this is the problem.
Yeah, and I think it's when your experience, like your own internal experience, has been consistent your whole life, but you don't know that that's not everyone else's experience. I found it really difficult to know that some of the things that I experienced are actually, either OCD or autism or, related to trauma, because it's all fairly interwoven and sometimes just confused in my head.
But for many, many years, we used to live with those disorders, and it maybe it is a wrong word, but sometimes it is for us like something normal. We lived with OCD for so many years, so the spectrum can be really wide, and there are many people who live with OCD, with eating disorder, but symptoms have not so huge impact for their lives, and it's hard to see what is happening. But when I started having a really tough times after many years of OCD, and this was mixed with eating disorder, I was totally depressed. I was scared to tell anyone what's happening. I was scared to lose my to lose my friend, to lose my effects when I started doing workouts and counting calories, and this is also connected with OCD. It was really hard to stop, and it was really hard to realize that I have a problem.
Mm. Yeah, it wasn't, interestingly, for me, um, it wasn't until I saw my psychiatrist, who I was seeing for ADHD. I already had a diagnosis of OCD, and we were doing some medication titration, but that was sort of it with that. Um, it wasn't until so far down the line, like a year and a bit after my OCD diagnosis, that I got a diagnosis of binge eating disorder that was in remission. So I wasn't, I didn't have a disorder anymore, but I'd had it for a long time in sort of my early to mid-teens. And yeah, I think it's very interesting that, like, how everything is so interconnected.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I guess for me, I don't think it was about control. I think it was about comfort. And I think it was just a way that I expressed, like, everything was so difficult or so scary. I didn't know how to help myself, but sometimes I'd feel good if like I ate something nice. And so, yeah, yeah, really interesting to learn kind of after
Yeah,
it had all normalized.
yeah, it's so complicated because I think one mental health condition can worsen the other mental health condition, and I'm not therapist, I'm not specialist, and I wonder how therapists should start, because maybe therapy can impact through mental health condition at the time. But I know that for OCD are higher doses of SSRIs used, and for depression, lowest doses. And I think also with therapy methods are it can be different for
Mm.
different mental health conditions, and it's not so easy to choose the proper treatment for all mental health conditions at one time. It's
Yeah.
not possible.
And I think it's difficult to navigate because it's complex, because the clinicians really need sort of additional training that they may or may not have. But then also, do you have one clinician? Do you have multiple clinicians? What do you start working on first? One of the really interesting areas of research at the moment is in trauma and OCD and how they work, and which came first and does it matter, and which do you treat first, does that matter? Um, and without knowing any of the research stuff of it, I felt quite privileged that even though when I was diagnosed with OCD, I really struggled to access ERP where I live, my regular psychologist, who is wonderful, does have trauma training. And so we could do a lot of trauma work while I was figuring out how to get ERP. So that kind of aligned with a lot of the current research and the order that you do them in, and the way that you might do it. So that was fortuitous, but it is really hard. And now, like, I'm about to restart some trauma therapy just to see if that helps me to really sort of improve one of the last, like, really sticky OCD themes that I've got, because it is really interconnected with
Mhm.
traumatic events and traumatic experiences. Yeah, it's a mess up there in my head.
Yeah, yeah. It is really complex, but I think when we are aware of existence of those mental health conditions, it's easier to navigate it because for 3 years, I was suffer with eating disorder without even knowing about this, because I thought that I make I thought that I make something for me. I started doing workouts. I started counting calories. I thought that I eat healthy, but I eat healthy, but in a really wrong way, because I didn't eat anything with my family. I didn't want to go for vacation because I need my box with my meals. And I think when I speak about eating disorder and also OCD, my daughter really helped me because when I had one of the first appointments with my therapist, my daughter asked me, "Daddy, where do you go?" And I didn't want to tell her, and my wife told her, Daddy goes to therapist because sometimes we need help with our mind." And my daughter told me, "Daddy, maybe you just stop counting these calories." And I I went to my therapist, and after those sessions, I started crying because I saw that my daughter see everything I was doing, everything, every behaviors, every single steps, every bad behaviors. She saw this, and I didn't want the same to her. So the same day I stopped counting calories, and I'm happy for that.
Oh, wow. So were you able to like change that really, really
Yeah, I
quickly?
changed that in the same day when my daughter
Wow.
told me about this. And
Yeah.
this was game changer. Sometimes we need a really big moment or really hard truth to change something inside us. It's still hard because when I now have OCD, sometimes I also have problem with eating or something like that. Maybe I'm not counting calories, but OCD causes distress. Distress causes different mental health condition, or kind of worsen those mental health conditions. It's complicated.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if there's like guilt and shame stuff that gets tied in with it as well.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's hard. That's why we speak about this now, because OCD is one thing, and that's the main point I talk about on my Instagram. But it's not so easy when me or you will have just OCD. The treatment will be much easier, and our
yeah.
recovery will be much easier. And
Yeah.
and
Even now, like sorry, I was going to say, I still get a little bit, I'll say something to my regular psychologist that I'm managing as OCD, and she'll sort of say, "Is it OCD or is it ADHD?" And I'll be like, "I haven't got it. I don't know." Like, the feelings that you get with OCD, a lot of the time I'll be like, it's because I feel it. But there's heaps of things where I'm just like, I don't know.
yeah,
It's sometimes I I don't necessarily want to know sometimes. Sometimes I don't know if it would be helpful to know, like for a specific thing, but I think that is always going to be like quite nuanced and quite, specific to the individual as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when I speak about OCD and eating disorder, it's sometimes such feeling that OCD and eating disorder are playing at the same team in the same time.
Mm.
Because when I want to eat healthier and I want to lose my weight and I count calories, and then I had to check if those calories were okay or not. It's OCD thing and also eating disorder, and it's so complicated to change those behaviors.
I see Zach just wrote OCD about OCD and ADHD is OCD. I know, Zach, like it's just all OCD, I'm sure. There's always an OCD component to it.
Yeah, this
I
is the
think as
same thing.
well, but
This
having
is
had
yeah,
diagnosed OCD for 30 plus years, like it's everywhere. It's so interwoven in how I function that I don't always know it's there. Great example of it was when I was at work and someone like stopped me from doing a compulsion mid-compulsion, but I didn't realize that it was a compulsion. And I was just like, oh, okay, another one to
yeah,
address.
yeah. It's hard to see the difference between it is OCD or this is something real, and when you have other mental health disorders, it's hard to see the difference between reality, between those disorders. What is this? And this is really overwhelming for someone who's struggling with that.
Yeah. When you had your live about like intuition, I found that really interesting because when I am just doing my normal stuff in life, I feel like I've got good, intuition. I've got a pretty good gut feel of what's happening around me. And I tend to trust that. But when I am at work, and OCD is often pretty active when I'm at work because it's a really triggering environment for me. I do lots of, not as many now, but I did a lot of checking compulsions at work previously. And sometimes it's appropriate to check because it's for
Mm.
a patient's safety. And I remember having this day at work once where I was about to give someone a drug intravenously that they needed to have to do this protocol. And if anything, and I need to reverse that drug, I need to give them another drug. As I was drawing up this second drug, I was like, I just feel like something, I need to go look at something because something feel right. And then I had the little battle in my head of, does it not feel right because there's something not right? Or does it not feel right because just right, whatever? Like, what am I juggling here in my head? And when it's work related, I always have to go back to like patient safety. So I sort of said to myself, right, okay, tools down, go back and look, a thorough look to
Yeah,
check. There's no repeat, there's no more than once kind of thing. But it was a really helpful exercise for me because I sort of actively chose to go back to do the checking, which still may have been a compulsion, but there was something that I had seen
yeah,
that I should see that I then needed to not do. And yeah, it was a safety
yeah,
thing. And
yeah,
so I keep constantly weighing it up and And to do that in a minute or two in your mind while you're also doing a bunch of other complicated tasks it's exhausting. Like it's hard.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard, and this thing about intuition, it's really interesting because uh, when I've had this feeling of intuition, and I think I have to check the doors, for example, and I had few times the situation when I checked the door and the door was open, and that was intuition. And the difference is when we started checking and checking again and checking again, and the opposite situation I've had the 2 or 3 weeks ago when I've taken my meds, but the wrong meds. What I should do, I should take in the evening, and those meds were for better sleep. And then I realized that I've taken not those meds I should take, and I take them again, and then I was sleeping like a baby because I've taken those twice. And this
Double up nights.
that was OCD, I'm sure. But yeah,
Yeah.
we have to be careful, especially when you are a doctor, and it's about safety.
But I think as well, like there's there's ADHD parts to it for me, and there's autism parts to it for me because I see patterns. I'll do lots of pattern recognition. The job that I was at today is that pattern recognition, and so I'm really good at that. I'm probably better at that than the average person is, but it still feeds into OCD sometimes, and it's like this constant battle of, am I yeah, just the questions that you ask yourself. Zach
Yeah.
says he wants me to be his doctor. I'm a really good doctor, Zach. You should see me go. Um, but it's I think my patients kind of like they like that I'm genuine and honest about these things as well. And it's not just, people that if they've come to see me because they, have read my bio and think that I might be someone that understands them, that is, a big part of the patients that I see. But another part is people that really appreciate my approach to things. And a really good example that I had discussed with my psychologist, because I went to her and said, I was trying not to do any checking, and I knew there was a new guideline, and I looked up the new guideline in front of the patient because I wasn't up to speed with the new guideline, and I wanted to make sure I was, giving them the right information. That makes me look unprofessional. How could I not be up to date with the thing? And her response was like, no, the patient wants to know that the doctor knows that there's a new guideline, and they want to know what it says. And the fact that you've pulled it up in front of them demonstrates to them that you know what you're doing. And so I think there's, from a lifetime of potentially people misunderstanding where I've been coming from, or what my psychologist says is like, I'll be on step 10 of a process, and not everybody is on step 10. Most of the people are on step 2. And so sometimes they don't understand how I've got there, and like it can be annoying as well. So I'm I'm learning to navigate a bunch of stuff, and even like advocating for myself at work by saying, if I'm asking a question or if I'm saying something that you just have no idea how I've got there, just trust the process. Like there's reason behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's hard to navigate. It is an isolating kind of
Yeah.
space to be.
Yeah, it's really hard to navigate, and I think there are few points I think really important are, and the first one when we are struggling with few mental health disorders at the time, Yeah, the first thing is to find the right therapist who can navigate OCD and other disorders, and the second part is about self-compassion. I think it's really hard. It's really hard to live with OCD, and it's really hard to live with other mental health disorders at the same time. And self-compassion, patience are a really important point,
Yeah,
because I
absolutely.
know when we're struggling with OCD and we have a really hard OCD day, it's even harder to cope with that when we have to cope with eating disorder, with GAD, with ADHD, and depression. And it's not so easy to ask for help. It's not easy to get up out of the bed and just live. It's not it's not easy. It's really hard. So
Yeah. One of the
self-compassion, yeah, it's really important.
one of the biggest things that I've learned probably in the last like year is like because of such a long time of not knowing a lot of the things, like a lot of the, comorbidities and stuff that I do have, I mask really well and I
Mhm.
compensate really well. And so I will look competent no matter what I'm doing because that's me and that's how I've had to function for my whole life. And so I've definitely found that as I've become more self-aware and as I've become more self-compassionate and I've been able to, put some boundaries in place or, advocate for myself when I do need something to be changed or whatever.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily get pushback, but I definitely get a lot of feedback that says, you're fine, you're doing really well. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you I'm not. And like, I would like some help. And that is really, really difficult to navigate because I'm like, do I need to, have a physical thing that you can see for this to be real for you? Or like, how else could I put this in context? Um, and yeah, sometimes it makes me sad. Like I've had a lot of chats with my psychologist that have ended in tears because I'm like, oh, okay, so I raised myself. That's why there's these things going on. Like, I didn't really need to be doing that, but that's how it was. Okie doke. And yeah, it's sometimes hard to sort of manage that. And I guess there's a lot of grief in the whole process of un unwrapping all of the things and like learning how to manage that as well.
Yeah. And now, Leigh, we are at this point when I want to say that spreading awareness not only about depression, it's important, we know this, but also awareness about different mental health disorders, OCD, ADHD, GAD, and other disorders are so important. This is so important as talking about depression, because in Poland, so many people, so many therapists are talking about depression, about how important it is to spread awareness, and no one knows about OCD, or maybe not no one. I don't want to generalize, but not many people know about what really OCD is, and other
Yeah, I
disorders
think
too, bipolar
there's
or yeah.
yeah, there's so much misunderstanding, and I think the idea, like especially within the medical community of which I am part of, like the medical model is how we function as doctors, but people don't fit into, columns in tables in
Yeah.
textbooks. Like we are moving, living, breathing individuals that have all sorts of things that are incorporated into how we are and who we are and how we function. And so I really want to see with time, more understanding of that and really like clinicians broadening their own understanding of this, that, we're not textbooks, we're people. And there's a lot of nuance and there's a lot of probably creativity needed to do really good treatment. Part of the advocacy that I do because it's so important.
Yeah, and I know that what we are doing are really, really important, and also this community, it's so important that people who help us to feel less alone, to feel understood, and this is this is the way how we can help others because when I was when I get my diagnosis 2 years ago, after over 20 years of living with OCD, I felt really alone. I felt alone. I felt isolated, and when I met all those people on my Instagram, and we speak openly about mental health, about how important it is to talk about it, uh, it really helped me to show up, to help other people, to show my courage to do something for me and something to others. And I'm sure that we can help others.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, finding those safe spaces where you can share like really intimate information about yourself that, potentially with someone hearing it that doesn't understand, that's got heaps of potential negative outcomes. So to find spaces where we can talk about it and we can be really open about it and not feel shame and, just understand each other, it's amazing. And like, I think, when we were in Chicago recently and we were having like just a fun day doing stuff, we felt like how amazing it was to just be ourselves and be in the moment and know that you've got someone with you that's got your back. It feels so good because I felt isolated my whole life. And yeah, I think it's since finding the community that's just opened so much up. And yeah, I'm so grateful for everybody in the OCD community. I think we're all amazing.
Yeah, and we are definitely not alone.
Absolutely not.
Oh, well, thank you, Leigh, for this amazing conversation. Or maybe someone want to ask for something. We have a few minutes more. And yeah, I think it was a really great conversation. I know it. If you guys have any question, you can ask here or you can ask later in DMs or on our Instagrams, on Leigh Instagram or mine.
Oh, Zach's put one in the question box.
Okay. What was medical school like with undiagnosed OCD? What was navigating so much uncertainty and high stress like?
Normal for me. So this is what I was having a think about this the other day because I was diagnosed with OCD when I'd been a doctor for 8 years already. So I went through all of my schooling. I went through university, which was, about 10 years full-time tertiary education, plus 8 years actually working as a doctor before I was diagnosed. So I don't know. And it was, not being diagnosed with OCD, but also not being diagnosed with ADHD or autism, or major depressive disorder. So I don't know. I work really hard. I am learning to work less hard. um, I definitely felt more health anxiety before doing medicine than I feel now, having seen a lot of really unwell patients, which, you know, I guess is a win for me. I definitely, I've said to, I co-host one of the IOCDF SIGs for helping professionals with OCD, and my annoying response to people in the healthcare field who have health anxiety is like, just get a medical degree and work in emergency for a long time. You'll see one of every presentation and you'll be way less frightened about your own health. That's probably not the healthiest way to go, but yes.
Okay, thank you, Leigh. We have the next question. Was there a definitive moment where you decided to make a change, and what did that feel like? I think I can answer. For me, when I started with my page, I did it for myself as self-therapy because I needed space to share my feelings, to share my emotions, and then I saw that it is really helpful for other people, and I knew how I felt for many years, that for last 3 years I felt really alone and isolated. So I decided to make a change, and this feeling when people tell you that what you're doing is really helpful and supportive is something amazing. And I don't want for others how I feel, how I felt in this really hard time. So this made a difference.
I think that's why our conversation recently with Ava and her mum Whitney was so important as well. You know, we've met a really wonderful 8-year-old who has the potential to just live a normal life, and that's what we want for everyone that has OCD. Zach, I see your reply. I basically habituated to every worst case scenario, pretty much. Although I still manage my hyper responsibility stuff, because when my father has melanoma, he was diagnosed a couple of months ago, and there was something right at the beginning of when he had some changes on his skin and had a biopsy, and I was just assuming that everything is fine and everything gets managed to get involved. And there was a little bit of not managed very well, and my brain immediately went to, if my dad dies, that's my fault because I should have been more, involved in his care. And maybe a year ago I would have believed that and I would have really gone down a rabbit hole with that. But thankfully, after, a lot of hard work, I was able to sort of be like, that's not true and it's not my responsibility. So yeah, definitely, if it's work related, I'm very much habituated, but if it's personal, it's still really, really hard to connect on some of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was the same. I felt so isolated when I was first diagnosed. Like, I felt such a need to meet other people who understood. And so I started doing like community events and stuff. And it was, my decision to really jump into advocacy was after having brunch with some sort of new friends in the OCD community, having really open conversations around, a table at a restaurant. If anybody could hear what we were talking about, they might have been really concerned. But, we were able to just sort of be open and honest about stuff. And I think that's such a big part of the key to managing OCD. Like, we hold so much shame, but we don't have to. And, if we talk about what we're experiencing, whether it's, you know, to be topic or not at all to be topic. You know, so much less or something.
Yeah. Okay, my phone is calling. My wife is calling. So maybe it's time. Leigh, yeah, this is important because there are a lot of shame, a lot of taboo things about mental health condition, about OCD, and that's why we are doing what we're doing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Takes so much power away from it if we just share it.
No, no, Zach, not emergency alert in Poland. I'm in Germany, and my wife was calling me right now, so I will have to explain her why I can't uh, mm, talking right now.
You
So
can call
Leigh,
me Guinness.
thank you so much for this amazing conversation. I'm so
No
happy,
worries.
so happy we met in Chicago. You know this.
I do. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're so lucky. I keep saying we're so lucky, but we worked really, really hard to get to the spots that we're in right
yeah,
now, to be in a space where, you know, we can find each other and lean on each other and really make
yeah,
the most of our advocacy and of being part of this community.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, and see
No,
you. Yeah, have a nice evening.
enjoy Germany.
Bye.
Bye.